All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making a plays. You talking the game, get you to the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making a plays. You talking the game, get you to the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. We on top of our game. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays.
What is going on, everybody? This is Mike Hughes, and I'm sitting here today with Jay, and you're watching the ASAP Network. And Jay has something special for everybody today, and I am honored to be sitting here with him. Jay, can you tell the people what we're going to be getting into today, everything that you've been working on, and just the discussion that you've been having the last couple of days?
Man, you're right, man. This is something special. We got Rick. Rick is the CEO of the Charlotte Bats. We'll get into exactly what that is. They're a grassroots team. We'll get into more about that, where it comes from, his story, on how we got here. And I'm just happy to have him on. Let's go ahead and bring him in.
Hey, guys.
What's going on, Rick?
Thanks for having me on your program. Appreciate it.
No problem, Rick. No problem. Before we kind of get into what the Charlotte Bats are about, can you kind of tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, my name is Rick Curti. I was born and raised in Los Angeles, California. I actually lived in Las Vegas, around your neck of the woods, for 5 years, from 2001 to 2006. So I'm a West Coast guy myself. I moved to Charlotte around 2006. I've been living here ever since. And I came up with this idea. And when I moved to Charlotte, I love the city. We got everything. And I just said, the only thing we need here is a Major League Baseball team. And so my little crazy brain got to thinking, let's do this, because we need a Major League Baseball team in Charlotte. We got baseball, it's 30 teams. Let's make number 31 or maybe number 32.
Right.
Right. No, right. With that being said, I mean, you came up with the idea, the name, everything. How did that come about of the Charlotte Bats?
Kind of came in a dream. It was something that I've been thinking about. I did some research about why Charlotte had never had a Major League Baseball team. They came close in the mid '90s with the Twins when they were thinking about moving to Charlotte in the mid '90s, and it didn't work out. Came close another time. I think flirted around when the Expos were thinking about getting sold, and I always heard Charlotte. I lived in Las Vegas. I always heard Las Vegas getting a team. I always heard Charlotte. That didn't happen. And then I remember when the Marlins, when Jeffrey Loria was trying to get a new stadium and said, oh, if I don't get a new stadium, I'll just probably move to Charlotte somewhere, or Las Vegas. And we all knew that was a pawn. And so that never happened. So I said, man, we need Major League Baseball out here. So I did some research, and I found out we have 13 other cities that are smaller than Charlotte that have Major League Baseball. Milwaukee is actually the smallest city that has Major League Baseball. And I just said, we have South Carolina next door. So we're really two states in one. And we already got football, and we already got basketball. We got a hockey team in Raleigh. We're actually getting a Major League Soccer team this year with Charlotte FC. And so I think this is the right time to do it. And I'm really excited that the Commissioner of Major League Baseball put this on his list for expansion in 2015.
Yeah, right. And to piggyback off that, do you think Now, I look at it. I'm in Chicago, born and
Right.
raised, always have been. Now we have 2 teams. New York has 2 teams, and the state of California has more teams than half of the people in the North do. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So
Right.
I'm from there. I
for
know.
from my perspective, Rick, what would you say is the main reason that it's been taking this long for Charlotte to get a baseball team? Would you say it's more of the interest of the people of Charlotte, or just that comparison that you made is that it is a smaller marketplace?
I think because it's a smaller market, I think a lot of people wanted these sexy cities like Los Angeles or Chicago or Las Vegas. They would always look at those markets, you know. But you don't have to be this big, sexy city to have professional sports. I mean, look at Milwaukee,
Right.
St. Louis, Tampa Bay, all small markets that have done successfully well. And so I think a lot of people you don't have to look at that. I think the
Yeah.
Charlotte has and North Carolina's been stereotyped a lot with NASCAR and college sports. I think people are just they
Definitely.
got college. It's a college state. Well, California's a college state, and they got every single team out there. There's a lot of
Right.
college. Florida's a college state. And they got 2 Major League Baseball teams. So I think over the years, those kind of stereotypes have been broken down a lot. And what's so funny about Charlotte is that nobody's from Charlotte. This is a big melting
Right.
pot. This is a transplant city. I'm from Los Angeles. I mean, people here from Buffalo, Pittsburgh, Chicago, New York, Arizona. I mean, nobody's from Charlotte. So we're a big melting pot.
Right.
And so I think one of the reasons we just been ignored is I think just Major League Baseball just we've been flirted with it a little bit. Unfortunately, we've been used as a pawn. But now that the commissioner's come out with his list, and I'm really happy that he put us on his list because we need more teams in the South. We just have the Braves.
Right.
Braves did win the World Series. So it'd be great to have a team in Atlanta. We got a team in Atlanta. It'd be great to have a team in Charlotte. And I think when they do expand, they'll expand by 2. And I do believe it's going to be Charlotte and Nashville. That will be the 2 expansion teams.
Nice.
Right. And
Real quick before you go, Mike, I kind of wanted to just emphasize a little bit more and take it back for a second because I think we kind of skipped over a little bit.
Okay.
On the emphasis of the commissioner bringing up Charlotte as one of the cities on the list in the expansion. So I'm gonna put you on the panel on the spot for a second.
All right.
I'm gonna act as the commissioner. I'm sitting in front of you right now. What's your pitch? Not on necessarily the Charlotte Bats, but what's your pitch on Charlotte? Let me hear it.
Well, Commissioner, thanks for having me on here. This is the reason why Major League Baseball needs to come to Charlotte. We need more teams in the South. We have a lot of teams on the West Coast, a lot of teams in the Midwest. We need to represent the South, and you just got Atlanta. Yeah, you got Florida and you got Texas, but people don't really consider those the South. The true South is Georgia, Tennessee, North Carolina, South Carolina, those parts. So we need to bring more balance to Major League Baseball, and putting a team in Charlotte and have a cool rivalry with Atlanta, that would be awesome. I said Charlotte's one of the fastest growing cities in the past 30 years. We already got basketball. We already got football. We're going to get Major League Soccer. So we can support professional sports. We have the money out here. Bank of America is headquartered here. This is a big banking city. We have more Fortune 500 companies growing every day. Charlotte is one of the fastest cities for young entrepreneurs to come to Charlotte because we have a lot of young entrepreneurs out here. And when people say we're a small market, well, don't worry because we have our friend South Carolina next door. And so we could bring the people from South Carolina to Charlotte because they don't have pro teams. They don't have a pro basketball team. They don't have a pro baseball team. So if you put all those things together and have a team in Charlotte, it will be a gold mine and we have a lot of transplants. We have people here from New York and Chicago and Buffalo and Pittsburgh that will just die to go see to have their own team. And I don't think anybody wants to drive 4.5 hours to Atlanta to go see the Braves. I know I wouldn't. So people want to
Well, we got a
people
guy.
want.
We got a guy, Ray Cruz, that would definitely do
Oh
that. Ray
yeah, I mean,
Cruz on the
I know
network.
people that would do that. But I'm like, well, you could save your, gas is so high right now. I'm like, you could save. I'm saving my gas money, and I'm gonna wait until we get our own team in North Carolina. So,
Right.
so I think we put all those together right there, and I think that's what the commissioner's been thinking. Why not Charlotte? I mean, it's like, why not?
Right. Now, Rick, you brought up a very interesting point to me, and I think Jay might agree with me here. You talk about the people of Charlotte. You talk about how it's a melting pot. There's no, not to say there's no identity, but there's no specific identity to Charlotte because everyone's coming from everywhere, and that's
Yeah.
what makes it
Right.
great. And Chicago
Right.
is very similar to that, and I love that aspect
Arizona
of it.
too.
And that's why I always do. Right. I love watching teams like that because the fan bases themselves are just so diverse and just so different.
Right.
You see blue collar guys, you see the rich, you see the poor, you see the good, the bad, and the ugly. Now, what I might not be able to comprehend right now, though, and our viewers watching are who are the Charlotte Bats? Now, like I look at it as the Tampa Bay Rays. The Tampa Bay Rays, everybody knows what the people of Florida are. It is also a melting pot. But the Tampa Bay Rays do not sell seats, and people aren't there. Now, who are the Charlotte Bats, and how would they be able to construct a fan base, and what does that culture and that identity look like?
Well, I think what hurts Tampa Bay is that they don't even play in Tampa Bay. They play in St. Petersburg, and so I think that has a
Right.
lot to do with it. It's all about location, and unfortunately, I don't know if Florida can support. I mean, they're having problems with the Marlins as well. So I mean, that's the bad thing about Florida. I think what came up with the Charlotte Bats was that I wanted something that represented North Carolina and Charlotte, and so
Right.
from 1994 to 2004, there was a minor league baseball team called the Greensboro Bats, and they changed their name and they're now called the Grasshoppers. They're called the Greensboro Grasshoppers. So I said, Bats, huh? That's a kind of a cool name. And then the colors I chose are the colors of the city of Charlotte and our university called UNCC Charlotte, home of the 49ers. So I wanted
Real
to put
quick,
all that together. And
let's show them real quick the jerseys real quick so they can see those colors.
yeah. So those are the colors of the city of Charlotte and our university, UNCC Charlotte, home of the 49ers. And I just wanted to combine those two. And bats are really common in Charlotte. People tell me that, I see bats here all the time. And, with the Greensboro minor league baseball team now called the Grasshoppers, I just thought it'd be a perfect name. I originally wanted to go with Cardinals because it's a state bird of North Carolina. But unfortunately, as you know, Arizona Cardinals, St. Louis Cardinals, too many Cardinals, unfortunately. And so I said, let's come up with the bats. And so we stuck with the bats.
I definitely like that. I'm gonna put those images back up there for anybody that did miss it or didn't want to see it again. I love the combination of the colors, how you put it together, flows
Thank
very
you.
well. Now, one thing that I did want to kind of emphasize on the grassroots team. Let's get into what, because I know a lot of fans or viewers out there are probably thinking, same thing that I thought when I first heard the word. What is a grassroots team?
Well, grassroots pretty much is just somebody who wants to start a movement and gets other people to join. It could just be people from different backgrounds. You don't have to be this rich, famous person. You don't have to be a celebrity. It's just somebody that says, hey, this crazy guy wants to bring Major League Baseball to Charlotte. He's got a petition. I think I'll sign it. And then I'll sign it and say, you know what? I would like my other friends to sign. So they get their friends to sign. And then all of a sudden they're tuning into your show and watching me talk, and then they're like, hey, I'm gonna follow this guy on Facebook, and then little by little just grow a following. So this is what's so great about what we're doing, is that this is the people's team. There's interest everywhere, not just in North Carolina. I've had people interested in, like, I have some girl that was interested in Belgium. Some girl from Belgium contacted me and wanted a shirt. And I'm like, why would a girl from Belgium want a shirt of the Charlotte Bats? Because that was her name, Charlotte Bats. So I sent her a shirt of Belgium. She loves it. I'm happy. I've heard from people from Australia. I've heard from people from Kenya, from all over the world that really are interested in what we're doing. So that's the great thing about what we're doing. Even though we're based in Charlotte, we're everywhere. And I've had people from Pennsylvania and all over that signed this. They said this would be great to have Major League Baseball in North Carolina. I've been there. It's a great city. You can support it. It's growing like crazy. And it's like, why not? Why not Charlotte? So it's just the people who have just latched onto this and just decided that I wasn't so crazy after all. There's a lot of other people like me that feel the same way.
Well, you're definitely convincing me.
Right.
You know.
Well, thank you. I
And Rick,
appreciate it.
you talk about the idea of how this came about, and you've kind of gone into that a little bit. But I kind of want to talk about the process of that and kind of what goes into, being a part of the Charlotte Bats. For you, like you're saying, you're sending shirts to people are buying merch off you, like you have a huge fan base that's global. What is the process of that? Are there other people that are a part of this team with you, or are you a solo show?
Right now, I'm trying to get other people involved. Pretty much, I'm kind of solo, always looking for other people. I have talked. I know the mayor is very interested in what we're doing. She came out recently and said that having a Major League Baseball team in Charlotte would be a, no pun intended, home run. And so she's on board with that. I actually, before COVID, we were contacting the governor of North Carolina, who's a huge sports fan, and where I was actually making some headway with the staff. And unfortunately, COVID came, and that kind of like slowed everything down. But we're back in the game now, and hopefully we'll get back to normal, soon. Soon. It's been just a crazy 2 years with what's been going on. So we're always looking for people, but I'm part of a business group. I meet like-minded people like myself, and so we're always looking for anyone out there who's interested. And I always tell them, go on our email at cltbatsbaseball@gmail.com. You have any questions, no matter where you are, want to get involved, come along. And I actually spoke to someone that I met on LinkedIn this morning who's interested as well. So it's just some fun to do. People are excited, and people want to have a team in North Carolina, and instead of rooting for outside teams. Because when I lived in Las Vegas, I was we didn't have baseball. I was a Diamondbacks fan, or a Padres fan, or a Dodgers fan. So, and that's how we are kind of in Charlotte, where everyone's like a Braves fan, or we have people here from Virginia who are Nationals fans. So it'll be kind of neat to have our own team we can root for. So, and you also have to have a lot of patience. There's a lot of ups and downs in this. When I started this, people thought I was absolutely out of my mind. We're never going to get a team. We're too small of a market. And then 7 years later, we're on this list. So that's the great thing about what we're doing, is just, it's all about patience and time, and just giving people that information that a lot of people didn't know about Charlotte. They didn't know Cal Ripken Jr. played here, or Harmon Killebrew. They didn't know there was a Charlotte Hornets baseball team. Jim Tomei played here. So many people, Hall of Famers, started their careers in Charlotte. So that's the great thing, that I can kind of educate people about the history of professional baseball in Charlotte.
Right. And that's the thing that a lot of people don't understand. There is that history there. There are those kind of underlining roots that have already been planted in Charlotte that would make it a very capable and promising home, so to speak, for an MLB team. And that's one of the things that I don't think a lot of people understand. And with the research, it seems like even that you've put in yourself before starting this, that with Major League Baseball looking to expand, there's not many super promising sites. It's really dwindled down to a few. They can go back, bring another team to Canada. I will always say Canadian teams will always work in Major League Baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And then really outside of that, Las Vegas is going to be always spoken about until they get one, because of what we've seen with the sports teams that have gone over there, and internationally what Vegas brings to a fan base. But, I agree with you, Rick. You've pitched a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful pitch to, the Major League Baseball organizations, the commissioners, and the fans as well, from my point of view, of Charlotte, not only winning a Major League Baseball franchise, but also it being the Charlotte Bats. I'm 100% behind you on that.
Well, I appreciate it. And the news about Las Vegas is that people always ask me, well, when are they going to expand? And I say, well, they'll expand when they get the stadium situated in Tampa Bay and Oakland. And looks like Oakland's going to move to Las Vegas. So
Yeah.
they've actually been there like 6, 7, 8 times looking at property. They're fed up, just like the Raiders were fed up. They want a new stadium. The commissioner's already told them you need to go to another market. And it looks like the A's are going to be moved to Las Vegas, so they'll scratch them off the list. And then Tampa Bay is going to be splitting their season in Montreal, so you'll have half the games in Tampa Bay or St. Petersburg, and half the games in Montreal. So, and if they don't get a stadium done, probably the Rays will move to Montreal or have this sister relationship with Tampa Bay. So, as soon as those two things are done, they'll expand.
Charlotte's number one.
And I see Charlotte and Nashville. I think having a team in Charlotte and Nashville with Atlanta there, and you got no team in South Carolina, you got no team in Virginia. It's open market for those two, and I think it would be a huge success.
Yeah, no. One last question for, guys like myself, Mike, other viewers out there. I'm big into prospects. I'm big into draft. I'm big into the journey it takes individual to get to the professional level. So, with that being said, let's take a step back for a moment. We're awarded a major league team in Charlotte, the Charlotte Bats. They have their team set up. Where would your minor league teams be?
Well, that's a good question. South Carolina would be the perfect place. It's right over the border. We can have a team in Rock Hill. We can have a team in Fort Mill. I know Columbia. I think would be a good idea.
Columbia is
nice.
If
there's a minor league baseball team in Columbia called the Fireflies, and I think if the Bats or whatever major league baseball team we get can purchase them, and they can be the AAA affiliate of the Bats, that would be the perfect landing spot to me. It would have the team in Columbia, South Carolina. So I'd definitely be in South Carolina because, it's a smaller state. They don't have pro teams. And I think that if they see that they're being partnered with an affiliate with Major League Baseball, and, the Panthers headquarters is going to they're moving into South Carolina. That'll make them feel good, and it'll be a whole Carolina feel to it. So to me, Columbia, South Carolina, and getting the Fireflies, being the AAA affiliate, to me would be the best bet, the easiest bet, and a great location. You don't have to go from one state to another. You can just drive to Charlotte when you get called up. So I think that would be a great addition to it.
No, that definitely sounds ideal. I do want to get your take. I think, Mike, you're muted if you're talking.
My bad. I was just gonna say, Rick, not to hold you for too long, and I know there's a lot of questions that you might not have answers to. But we're talking about what you would do from a minor league perspective, and just off rip, it was just, to me, we haven't really seen an expansion team really since the Expos became the Nationals. So for you, we're already talking about how the minor league teams would work, and obviously you're going to draft accordingly, and you're going to bring in guys, do walk-ons, this, and this. For the major league team, the Charlotte Bats itself, how would you see that going? Do you see it like the Golden Knights where they're kind of taking one player from each team, or how would you construct that team to be major league ready?
Well, they would have a draft. We would have an expansion draft, just like when the Rockies, and the Marlins came, or when your Diamondbacks were getting an expansion team, and there would be an expansion team, an expansion draft. And then, we'll get some we'll get great scouts, and they'll be scouting people from high school. There's so many professional independent leagues, like the Atlantic League of Professional Baseball. We have a college league out here called the Coastal Plain League. And so they'll look at people over there that they can draft and find those hidden gems out there that have been ignored by professional baseball. Free agency is another thing. There's a lot of people who love to play at home. Like, hey, I'm from Gastonia, North Carolina, or I'm from Matthews, North Carolina. oh man, they had a team in North Carolina. My family still lives there, so I think I'm gonna go to this team. So there's just so many different ways to do it. But first of all, it will start out with an expansion draft, and whatever players are not protected by those teams, we can scoop up. That will be best for our team, and would be a good um, that would best represent us. So that would be the first step there, and then of course minor you draft, free agency, scouting, etc., and that's how you would get your team. And you got to get a great GM, a president, and that can see all that and get people that have just years of knowledge in sports and things like that. So if you do all that. Like I said, you don't have to be this big, sexy city to be successful. Look at Tampa Bay. They're a great baseball team. They just won 100 games. And so, small market teams can't succeed here. And so I could see it totally succeeding here in Charlotte.
Definitely. So before we let you go, so since we're talking about Major League Baseball as a whole, what is your current take on the state of Major League Baseball with the lockout? And do you think where we're sitting at today, I think yesterday they posted that they're going to be negotiating here soon. So do you think where we're sitting at today, does anything happen in any games? Do we postpone any games? Do we lose any ground? Or will we start on time?
I think we'll start on time. Having this lockout is not good at all. Fans see this and they're like, these are millionaires and billionaires fighting because they want to be more millionaires and billionaires. While there's people out there who are, struggling and paycheck to paycheck. So that's not good, for the fans. I don't see any postponements. I don't see a delay. It's just too much money would be lost. And they remember what happened in '94 when we had the World Series canceled, and it took many, many years for people to really uh, get back with baseball. Fans were protesting, the attendance was bad, and it took Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa to do that historic home run chase of Roger Maris to get the fans back.
Beautiful.
And Barry Bonds as well.
Time.
That's what got the fans back. So I think people right now are kind of like, well, that's sports. They have it's money. It's a business. But I would be shocked if any games were postponed. I would be shocked if it starts late. I think it'll get done soon enough, and then once it gets done, people are not going to care. People are just they're gonna still tune in to watch their favorite team because people love sports. I know I love sports. You get upset with them, just like if you have kids, you're upset with your kid, but after a while, you forgive them and you love them again. And that's how people are with sports. It's sort of like a love-hate relationship with it.
Right.
Well, Rick, we really appreciate you coming on here today, explaining everything about the Charlotte Bats. ASAP Sports is totally behind you. We're pushing for the Charlotte Bats to be the next expansion team in Charlotte there. And from a standpoint of a fan, I love what you're putting together.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on your program.
No problem. We'll definitely have you on again whenever you're ready. You come on, we'll talk some baseball. Mike has a baseball show that's about to debut here soon, so we'll love to have you on.
I would love to be part of that. I love baseball. I love all sports, and I'd be honored to be on that program.
Perfect.
No question, bro. We'll definitely reach out to you.
You enjoy the rest of your day, Rick.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a great weekend.
You too. Well, that was very enlightening, folks. They're very enlightening. Definitely a great movement he has going on over there. If you need any information about the Charlotte Bats, again, www.charlottebats.com. Follow, help the movement, keep it pushing. Bring Major League Baseball to Charlotte. What you think about that, Mike?
Yeah. But how about we just bring it back in general? I think that's where it really starts. And free Ken Rosenthal, because my man didn't say anything that was untrue. Like, what are we talking about, Jay? Like, we're in the dark ages right now. I just want to come back, and I think he kind of touched upon it too. It was a conversation. I didn't want to hold him too long, but he said what brought baseball back was Sammy Sosa versus Mark McGwire, and in a situation like today with the spider car and the cheating scandals, the corked bats, everything, the roids, everything. It's not going to happen the way it did. So by bringing a team into the league like Charlotte, maybe you also bring in another one to, even things out in Las Vegas. That could be what instills more fans coming into the league, because right now there's more fans coming out than there are going in. And I feel like that could be the move that happens.
And see, the thing that they got to understand is the excitement factor. And I'll tell you something that the reason like hockey is never going to go away. They got to figure out ways to get it back in the viewership of people. But they always say they have the fights, they have the scenes, they have the excitement throughout the game. And I think that what I think the Major League Baseball executives fail to understand is that all these different things that they're inputting on the league, all this check the glove, check the hand, are they rubbing, all this stuff that they're inputting on the league is taking the excitement away.
Right.
It's taking the excitement.
And I understand it. From someone who played lacrosse at a high level, someone who played baseball at a pretty decent level. And I think that's where I was going with it, James, is when you reach the younger audience, I understand that you want to keep your kids safe. When they're playing in high school, you keep the kids safe. When they're playing in middle school, pee-wee, whatever that be, you're not going out there to completely annihilate the kid you're playing against. But when you're in the majors and you're getting paid millions of dollars, I'm not saying I advocate for CTE awareness and mental health disorders and everything else. Right. But what I'm saying is to make it a pillow talk type league to where I have to wear a pillow around my head just to take the field, it's a situation to where you're dumbing down the game, and that's where it's different. And I feel like now, obviously, we talk about football all the time. The head rules, that's completely understandable. But to tell me that while you're in motion, while you're 300-something pounds coming into a man to tackle him, and I get a penalty for it, like what are we talking about? You know what I mean? So I feel like we need to stop dummying down the league. We need to stop bringing in all of these extra activities, curricular activities that have nothing to do with the game, and just bring it back a little bit to what it was.
Before I pull up this comment here, I'm gonna make my my annual baseball Pete Rose plug. Hall of Fame.
As you should.
He should have been in. Get off of him. Get off of him. Let them in. But let me pull this up too. Speed the game up. Baseball takes too damn long. I have two. I'm double siding with that. You know what?
I don't know how to do it.
Right, because I'm a big thing on integrity of the sport. Okay. Right. And history of the sport. I don't like changing things because people's attention span has changed over time. That's what's happened to basketball. That's what's happened. A lot of what we've seen in the way they've adapted some of the rules in football as well. And at some point, it has to stop, because the whole point of what baseball was, and the whole point of the bullpen, the dugouts, and all that stuff is because of the length of the game. It's because of how long that you have to do it. So I agree, James. We do need to speed it up, but it's almost impossible of a thing to complete. It's almost something like how, like Mike, you said, how do they do that?
Right. The only way, and it's never going to happen, is because they're so deep into commercials now and advertising, is when I see a guy spending 20 to 25 minutes warming up in the bullpen, and then they make the pitching change and there's a 5-minute commercial so this guy can warm up on the mound. I'm like, dude, you just spent 25 minutes warming up. Like, it should just be a quick transaction, no commercial, keep going. Instead, there's a 15-minute break so that we could see Carlos Rodon warming up, or we could see Michael Kopech warming up, or we could see something along those lines. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, I just watched this man spend, like 30 minutes ago, they announced he was warming up. So what has he been doing? Why does he need a 5 to 10-minute break? Like, that's the breaks I think you can do. But ultimately, baseball, and not to say that football isn't an intelligent sport or basketball is not an intelligent sport, but it's this game of chess to where you can't slow down the game, because it's a strategic game. Like it is a chess game. Like, it is not ever going to be slowed down. Whereas football, where it used to be super strategic, I'm not saying it's not anymore, but it's come to the point where you got guys like Lamar Jackson out of nowhere. Instead of even having a strategic play, this kid runs out the pocket for 80 yards and speeds up the game. Where in baseball, at the end of the day, he still has to throw it, he still has to hit it, and he still has to field it. And that's just, you can't speed that up. It's not going to happen.
You know, one thing I will say, being an Arizona Diamondback fan, I used to love because of the fact I am a Diamondback fan, but I would get tired. I'd catch myself yawning on like Randy Johnson staring down the batter for 32 minutes prior to
Oh my
knocking a
God.
pigeon out the sky. So
Right.
those type of things is definitely something that we can work on.
Right.
But I don't really, outside of that, the gameplay itself, it's definitely something that you can't really do much with. But
There's nothing you can do.
it also goes back to the integrity of the sport. Either you love it or you don't.
Right.
And that
And
comes back to basketball, comes back to football. There's certain things that because you love that sport that you ignore that a laxy daisy fan might grind their gears, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Like, I think to me, the best comparison to baseball is actually hockey, is because you understand that 9 times out of 10, when you're going down the rink, you're not going to score. Like, it's just not going to happen. And the same thing with soccer. Like,
soccer, I was
to
going to
the
say.
point where it's like, right, soccer, 9.99% of the time, you're not going to score. Like, it's a 90-minute game, and usually it's 1 point scored throughout the entire game. Those are one of those games where the fans are going to be the fans, and you either love it or you don't, whereas basketball,
Right.
9 times out of 10, you're probably going to score each possession. Like, that's just how it is at this point in the league. Like, look at the Bulls put over 100 points in 3 quarters of basketball yesterday. It's speeding up to that point to where this is just what the game is becoming. But games like soccer, baseball, hockey, lacrosse, like those games never really change because you just can't.
Right. And I'm gonna say this since we just got fresh ears with Rick. Rick, I think that might be the best thing to release Charlotte bats with the first Major League Baseball cheerleading team. So during these dugout switches, we have the cheerleaders on the field dancing while he's warming up.
I mean, it would definitely help. It would definitely help because I'm literally just staring at nothing for like 5 to 6 minutes. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
In between innings, there's a reason everyone gets up every inning. You know what I mean? Like, that's just what it comes down to. Everyone's going to the bathroom because you have time to go. Like, that's not okay. Like, you either go at halftime or you don't go at all. But in baseball, 90% of the time, you're going every other inning. Like, that's just how it is.
Right. You're right. Get the 7th inning breakdown right on center field.
Honestly, honestly, dude. I'm with it, Jay. I ain't knocking it. I could see it.
But Mike, since we're here, we're talking baseball. Let them know what's going on with your new show that's coming out.
ASAP Plus, man. ASAP Plus is debuting in 2 days. And if you can't read and you can't write, I'll go like here right now and I'll put the link in the comments. You can definitely find it. You can find it on my page, Mike Hughes, Mike on the Mike podcast, wherever you got to find it. I am supporting ASAP Plus every single day. You can find it on the ASAP Network through Jay Ness, Freddie Henderson, Ray Cruz, and many other people are supporting ASAP Plus. It's a brand new network. It is the same thing. I keep reiterating that because some people do not understand. Are there people that don't like each other in the network anymore? Is that why there's a separation? Is it a different network entirely? Is it still sports? Is it this? Is it that? It's not. It's an opportunity for new shows, new faces, and some old faces that just want to do new opportunities. We have Alana Trapp doing an all-women show, which is going to be the greatest show. It is kicking off the ASAP Plus network. So definitely check that out. It's going to be amazing. We have Kelsey Nicole and many others viewing in on that. Some members of the WNBA in future episodes and many others. But as for baseball, our show is Moneyball. Moneyball is exactly what it sounds like. It's getting down to the nitty-gritty, really looking at it from a statistical standpoint and just getting that idea because as many of you watch ESPN, I hate when ESPN and Stephen A. Smith talk about baseball. Only during the World Series is what gets me the most. They'll talk about every single regular season basketball game, but they will not sniff a single one of the 162 games in baseball. But it's definitely a situation to where even when they are speaking on it, they only talk about the big names, where Jay, myself, and many others throughout this network love talking prospects. I am good friends with many prospects of the Chicago Cubs and many other places. So we will be having them on the show as well as guests. So definitely check that out. Like I said, January 10th, ASAP Plus is banking it, and we're going all for it. We're going the distance, So definitely keep on track with us. Last night, Jay, myself, Freddie, and others, we had 28,000 viewers on one of the shows last night, and it's only the beginning. So definitely check that out and get on now because we're going.
Right. And I'm gonna pop James on the screen here. That's another one of the big shows. Big Game James, former NFL star standout, and Jay Stoggs are bringing the Big Game Sports Buzz to ASAP Network and ASAP Plus. So that's another thing that we have going on. Look, you guys, if you haven't already, if you've been missing out since on 2021. Don't repeat the same mistakes in 2022.
Be better. Be
Be
better.
better. Be better. Click the link. Add us on all of them. We have an all-star viewer here,
The
Mr.
greatest
Damon
fan of all time.
Hernandez. Man, this dude right here. Since you're talking about student athletes, what are your thoughts on student athletes having free agency in college instead of the transfer portal, since they're finally getting paid now? Good way of putting it, because it really has turned into a free agency these last few weeks, especially. The $1 million offer
The
for Caleb.
Deion Sanders stuff was crazy.
The Deion Sanders stuff, the $1 million offer that Caleb Williams just got, trying to recruit him. Damian, to me, it's open book right now. This is like,
Right.
I'm going to compare it the only way I can right now on top of my head. I'm going to compare it to like cryptocurrency. The first couple of years of cryptocurrency, it was just open. There were no regulations. Just get it in and get it while you can. And that's how I think these first couple of years are going to be for these students. But I think they are going to make some restraints, because you can't tell me I can give Mike $1 million and say, hey, come out to ASU. And in the back of Mike's head, he's like, I'm going to go get that money, but I'm going to play there 1 year, and then I'm going to go to the team I wanted to go to.
Right. And I think that's where you would have to figure it out, because where free agency is, you have a set deal, and then once it expires, you can go wherever you want. Whereas free agency for college would be very different, because kids would be leaving every single off season to be getting new deals. And that's where it's one of those situations that's tricky, because you can't have every single kid on a college recruit, being like, okay, we're gone, because then those schools, even though they do have financial stability, they will go broke eventually if they have to continually give someone over $1 million every single year. And those are all going to be new athletes. Like it would just be a lot. So I think there's a lot of unknowns to that. I think it's already somewhat become that. I just think to a lesser degree of the actual term, what we're used to in free agency.
Now, let me put this on the table, because I don't think people have taken it to this aspect yet, because we haven't had it yet. But I foresee a problem with the NFL. I foresee a problem with, let's say a player is recruited to go to a college, and let's just take it off the top of the wall. They get a GoFundMe. They raise $10 million to send them to Appalachian State. Okay, this guy goes to Appalachian State. He's an NFL prospect before he lands in Appalachian State, so we already know he's going to the NFL. Now, let's say his draft stock drops to like 4th, 5th round. He gets drafted. His 4-year contract total is $5 million. Do you think those are going to start running into issues where the dude's like, I made $10 million going to Appalachian State? Why would I sign this 4-year deal with the New York Jets as a 5th round draft pick for $5 million over 4 years? Do you think those are that's an issue that we're going to possibly see?
I think it's real. Like I think it's a real conversation. I think it all comes down to the love of your game and what you're willing to put into yourself. Now, some kids, they want to play football to get the bag. And if you're getting the bag in college, why am I playing to get the bag again if I already have it? Unless you have the idea of betting on yourself, then getting $100+ million deal later on down the line. If you think you are that good, we've seen it happen before. Eddie Jackson and many other individuals who have come out, being from the 5th or 6th round and still being great and getting the bag. The other combination of it is, do you want to play? You know what I mean? Like, are you only playing football for the college scholarship now? Because if that's all it is, and you have an opportunity, Trevor Lawrence is a perfect example to me, to where he stayed an extra year to get his business degree. Not that he didn't care about playing football in the NFL, but he didn't, solely have to do that. That wasn't his sole intention in life. It's not the only thing that matters to him. So it's that idea of, if Trevor Lawrence already had $100 million graduating out of Clemson, which relatively he could have if he just, every single year went in the transfer portal. I don't see why he wouldn't just become a business major like he already has and go into it from that perspective. Now, there's other individuals, like we said, they got that dog in them, the Mac Jones and the Justin Fields and all these other guys who just want to play ball. You know what I mean? Like, not to say Trevor doesn't, but Trevor has other aspirations outside of football. So I think it comes down to your love for the game overall.
Yeah, we appreciate that. We appreciate that. Well, look, that's we had a great show. Mike, before we wrap up, is there anything you want to leave them with?
Free Ken Rosenthal, fire Matt Nagy, and subscribe to ASAP Plus and the ASAP Network, because I'm going to tell you this right now. If you're watching us right now and you're not already subscribed, you're a weirdo, bro. Why? What's taking you so long? Like, you could be here all the time. Why are you here right now? You could be here every day. We're here every day.
Just that little bell thing. You know what I mean?
Right. Just be better. Be great.
Yeah.
I want you to
don't make the same mistakes last year. Don't make the same mistakes. Well, anyways, guys, I appreciate everyone that tuned in. We appreciate you guys stopping by. If you haven't, like he said already, please share, like, subscribe. We appreciate you guys all the time.
Yes, sir.
Whole sports all plays. Yeah. Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays. 365, we making a plays. You talking the game, get you to the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. Whole sports all plays.